Good day everyone, I hope you are doing well. So this is the video for class example 3 for week 6. It's quite an easy example, so it's just a block, you can say it's CNC machined. Yeah, quite straightforward. The only difficulty is maybe to include that angle for both of these features into the model. So you'll need to create a datum plane and then sketch on this datum plane and extrude the features. But once you have the hang of that, it's quite easy. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to create a block. So if you remember correctly from my previous example video, I said that you create the block and then you go from there. So you see what general structure there is, and then you start creating and subtracting and adding some features. So this block is 200 millimeters wide and 40 millimeters high, so I'm going to create that inside NX. You'll also see that this is the front view, so I'm going to create the sketch on the front view, or that block. So on the front, create a sketch, just zoom in a bit, and then create this 200 wide 40 high and click OK. And then I'm just going to use some geometric constraints to align that vertically as well as horizontally. And there we have it, the sketch is fully constrained. So I'm going to finish this, and then you'll see that the extrusion is 100 millimeters deep. So I'm going to extrude that curve with 100 millimeters just to the other direction, because I like to work into the page, if I can explain it like that. So 100 millimeters and click OK. So the next feature is these little steps. So you'll see that they are 10 millimeters high and 37.5 meters wide for that one, but you'll also see that 200 minus 50 plus 50, so minus 100 is 100, minus 25 is 75, and 75 divided by 2 is 37.5. So that needs to tell you that this one is also 37.5 millimeters wide. So going back to the sketch, I'm going to create a new sketch on the face of this extrude. And then coincident with those lines, it's 37.5 wide and 10 high. One of them and another one. So that's the two steps, and then you'll see that this one is 50 millimeters from the left side. So I'm going to add that dimension. 37.5, sorry, 50. And then you'll also see that they are 25 millimeters apart. So from there to there is 25. And that's those two little steps done. I'm going to finish the sketch, and you'll see that they go right through. So it's that feature in the technical drawing. So they're also 100 millimeters extruded. Just change the direction, and I'm going to use the unite boolean operation, and it will unite those two steps or features to this main body. Click OK, and there we have both of those steps. So if you look at the front, you'll see it looks quite similar to what we have there. I just want to make sure that that is 50. Yes. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do is so you'll see that there is 40 millimeters. So I've created a big block, but this is 25. So firstly, I'm going to subtract that part from the body. Now I'm just going to subtract it with a rectangle. So you'll see that that point, so going down there is 70 millimeters from the right, meaning that this length from that left hand side to that point needs to be 130, and then we know it is 15 high. So I'm going to create a new sketch once again on the face of that extrude. It's going to be 130 millimeters wide and 15 millimeters high, and I'm going to finish that and just extrude it right through. So you'll see that it goes right through. Yeah, so just extrude that with a subtract operation, but you'll see okay, because it's not on inferred now, it's on unite, NX won't automatically detect that you want to subtract. So I'm just going to change that to inferred, and if you drag it across, it will automatically detect the subtract Boolean operation. So there we have a general structure now. You'll see it's more or less similar to this. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a datum plane at an angle to create that feature. So that feature at an angle. And you'll see if you look at this sketch, it is 20 degrees from the horizontal to that angle. So I'm going to create my datum plane, so it's that feature. I'm going to select that as an object to define the plane. But so let's just cancel that first, and then we're going to change this to at an angle. So then our planar object will be the face of the extrude, and our axis will be that line. And then I'm just going to reverse the direction. Sorry. So you'll see that it's 20 degrees, so I'm just going to specify this as 20 degrees. And if you look at it from this side, you'll see that it's more or less the same, or exactly the same as that angle there. So see it as that line going there. And that's all I need. So I'm going to click OK, and now we have a datum plane. Now what this helps you. Now you can, as you specified like a sketch on the front plane when starting the sketch. Now if I say I want to start a sketch, so this is a datum plane, that is a datum plane, that is a datum plane, and this one that I've created is also a datum plane. So I'm going to create my sketch on this, and this will ensure that my sketch is at the correct angle. So then I can just extrude the sketch when I'm done. So that's quite easy. I'm going to sketch on here. So from this you'll see that okay, we're sketching those lines now. So the top lines, we're going to sketch them. Forget that line at the bottom, we're going to sketch this one, and we'll see it's a diameter of 50 millimeters. And then we also see that the center point of that circle is 40 millimeters from that point. So I'm first going to create that circle. That circle has a diameter of 25 and the inner one is 12. So let me just orient myself again. So if you start sketching on it, it's wise not to rotate, because otherwise I'm not sure how to get back to looking directly from the top onto that plane now. So I'm just going to cancel this and finish the sketch, and then I'm going to go back into the sketching environment, and this will automatically place it directly above the datum plane. So you'll see it's not directly from the top, it's on top of the datum plane. So I'm going to sketch that circle. It's 25 diameter and 12 diameter, and it's in the center point of that one. We have seen that it's 40 millimeters from the bottom. Now that bottom is that line. It might be a bit difficult to see, so it's going to be that line, 40 from there. So I'm just going to do it like this so that you can see. So it's from that line, which is then 40 millimeters. Okay, so I'm just going to finish again and go back to the sketching just to be directly above the datum plane again. And then we see, okay, it's a diameter of 50 for that big circle. So I'm going to use an arc by center point. That's my center point, radius 25, and sketch it from the vertical to the vertical. Okay, and then that side is 15 millimeters from the left, so I'm just going to move this a bit to the left, include a wrapper dimension from there to there, which is 15. Okay, so now it needs two constraints. Now that constraint is those curves not being constrained yet, so I'm just going to undo that. Now I'm going to create just some other line on that line, so I'm going to trim it now, but now I can create a line from there downwards and from there downwards. Now I like to extend it, then I know it's vertically or vertical. So extend that one, and then use my trim operation just to trim those excess lines. And now you'll see the sketch needs 3 constraints. Now, what are those constraints? This line is still not coincident with the line at the bottom, and you'll see it's quite messy if you move it around. So just undo that. Then I'm going to make this line, so midpoint, and that line coincident or point on curve with one another. So now you'll see the sketch needs 2 constraints, and that's that constraint because we haven't defined the length of that line. So I'm just going to define the length, which is then 50 millimeters. Okay, and now it needs 1 constraint. Now let me see which constraint it is. So you'll see that I've created that dimension only from the point and not from the line. So therefore this point is not constrained. So I'm just going to create a vertical constraint there. And there you have it. Sketch is fully constrained. So it's fully constrained now, and I can finish the sketch. Okay, so now you'll see, okay, I want to extrude this feature now to the bottom. But you'll see if I say extrude and I click on that curve, it only selects the outer curve, which is what I want. Because if it selects the circle as well, so if I click those two, you'll see it create a hole like that, and we don't want that. We want to extrude that upward. So if you look at that, that's like a cylinder which has a hole in the middle that's extruded upward by 10 or 15, I think. I see it's a measurement missing, so I'll just include that into this technical drawing. So I see this height as well as that height is missing, but I'm going to just quickly guess it. I think it's 15 millimeters. So I'm going to first extrude the outer part, and that goes downwards. So I'm going to select that curve, and then I'm going to extrude it downwards, and I want it to unite with the big block, and you'll see that it's extruded downwards completely, and if I click OK, it unites the block. So there we have that feature. And now I want to extrude these sorry, that's the wrong selection. Let me just, okay, so I'm going to extrude that circle and it's 15. So I'll just include that dimension here, but that's 15, and also unite, and the target body is the big body. So if I click OK, there we have that feature included. So let me just see. Yeah, I think it's 15, but if I change my mind later on, it might be 10. But yeah, let's go with 15 at the moment. So that's that feature now. So now I want to add this feature. Now a similar approach is going to be followed. I'm first going to create a datum plane and then sketch on the datum plane. Now you'll see that this feature sits from some point on that line, and then the other specifications is made here. So to create a datum plane, so I've quickly just went and insert those 2 dimensions. So that's 5 and that's 15 as I guessed. So let me just make sure that I made that 15. Yeah, 15. Okay, so getting back to the example, so now you'll see that feature, so that feature is at some point there. Now you can either look here, you'll see that point is directly above this point, which is then 87.5 from the left, or you can just see that there's a dimension included. I've also included that because just now, because I think some of you might not be, yeah, it's not good guessing that point is directly above each other if it's not stated. So that's 87.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line. let me just create a sketch. So on the face of the extrude, I'm just going to create a line for myself. So there, and then I'm going to give it a wrapper dimension, and that's 87.5. And then I'm just, because it needs two constraints, these points are not constrained, I'm going to give it firstly a length, let's say 100 millimeters, and then also constrain that vertically or horizontally with that. So now it's over constrained. Okay, so it's fully constrained at the moment, so that's fine. So the only reason why I've created this line is to be able to create that datum plane now. So I'm going to hide this datum plane, it's not required anymore. And then I'm once again going to create the datum plane at an angle. My planar object is that, and my linear object is that line. So then you'll see, if you go and look at this, you'll see that the angle is specified as 30 degrees from the horizontal. So if I go that side, that's 180. 30 degrees is then 150. So 150, then that angle is correct. And then I'm just going to drag, so from that center point, I'm just going to drag this a bit upwards because I'm going to sketch here, and you'll see that that is correct. So from the front, if you look at that line and you look at that line, it's the same. So I'm going to apply this, and now once again I'm going to create a sketch on this. So on that plane, let me just create it on a, so selecting that plane, let me just see, okay, for some other reason it doesn't want to put it in the corner, but that's fine. We can create it there, and then we can just orient it so that it's upwards. So okay, there it's fine. So that's my sketch. Now once again, don't change your orientation, otherwise you'll not directly look from the top. So first of all, I'm going to create that circle. So the outer one is 20 and the inner one is 10. So let's create them quickly. So it's 20 and 10. So with the same center point. Okay, and then we have that that center point. So if you look here, there is the hidden detail. That center point is 55 from that line that I've just created. So going to NX, I'm going to add a wrapper dimension from this center point to that line, and that is 55. So the code word for today is CNC. So CNC in the sense of CNC. Okay. So that's 55, and then you'll see that there's no specification of how far that is from that border. But you'll notice that that is 70 millimeters, and that is from the edge to somewhere in the middle, which is 30 millimeters from the left. So that means that center point needs to be 35 millimeters from the side. So I'm just going to specify that. So this center point needs to be 35 millimeters from there, and that's it. So that's in the correct position. So it might not look like that, but it is. So then once again I'm going to create an arc. So because that is 70, it's the diameter of that circle as well. So an arc by center point, that's the center point. So 35 is my radius because the diameter is 70, from there all the way to there. And then once again I'm going to create another line on that line just for myself. And sorry, I'm going to take this line to that line and this line vertically downwards to that line, but I'm going to extend it just for making sure that it keeps vertical, or it stays vertical. So and then just trim that line again, and you'll see now that the sketch needs one constraint, so that is the bottom line does not have any dimension, but we know it's 70, but let's just specify it, so 70. Okay, So now my sketch is fully constrained and I have that feature. So I'm going to finish this sketch, and now, yeah, the process is the same. Using extrude, I'm first going to extrude this feature downwards with a unite, and let's just make sure. So you'll see I need to extrude it now until that line is, or that feature is entirely into the block, so until there about. But now you'll see it starts, yeah, getting outside at the bottom, but that's not a problem. We'll just trim that. So I'll show you how now. So clicking OK, we have a united feature. Yeah, you'll see it's quite similar. So let's quickly trim that. So I'm going to trim the body. I want to trim that body on that plane. So you'll see it trims anything of the body below that plane. But the problem now is it also trims these steps, and I don't want that. So going back to my extrude function, I first want to create a non-Boolean operation. So it's a separate body inside that body now. So now it's two separate bodies, you'll see. So now once again I'm going to trim that body with that plane. And now you'll see it only subtracts that bottom part of that body, not the steps. So if I click OK, it should be right. Yeah. So there it's only removed that section sticking out at the bottom. But now you'll see it's not united yet, so I'm just going to use my unite function. My target body is the big one and my tool body is that one. Clicking OK, there you see, okay, it's united. Those lines also have disappeared, showing it's one body. So now I just want to include those features. So the first one is 5 millimeters downwards, and that's the big hole. So extrude function, that circle to the other side 5 millimeters, and using a subtract operation, and click OK. Second one is that feature, other direction, and I'm just going to pull it through because you'll see it goes straight through. If you look there, it goes all the way to the bottom. So click OK, and there we have that hole in the feature or in the model. So we're almost done. The last thing that we need to do is to include that curve there, or extruded curve. So you'll see 75 and 70. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to create 2 points. So I'm going to once again create a sketch on that face, then make a point. So the point function, this point needs to be on that line and then also on that line, but we have already extruded this part to the correct point. So but I'm just going to put it there because yeah, so that NX clearly knows where that point is. So the sketch only needs one constraint, and that's because that point isn't specified, or the position of that point isn't specified yet, and it is 75 from the left. So I'm just going to use a wrapper dimension from there to that point, and that needs to be 75. And now my sketch is fully constrained. So now I can create an arc. So from that point to let's assume to that point, sorry, an arc by 3 points. So that point and that point, and you'll see the radius is 55. So just type in 55, and now it's locked. So you move it in the correct position and then place it there. But you cannot just extrude this line and expect it to create that arc. You need to close this, this loop, or you need to make a closed loop to be able to extrude it. So for that, I'm just going to use my profile. So from that point up until that line, then we go up until, let me just zoom in, until that line. But it cannot lock it with 2 lines, so I'm just going to put it, say, there, and then back to this point, and then I'm going to close it. Let me just see, I'm not sure if it made that last one correct. So from that line to this point, yeah, end point. and then close the profile, and then I'm just going to create a geometric feature. So that point needs to be going, or point on curve with that line. Okay, so it looks a bit weird, but that's what you need to do to extrude it. So now I'm just going to use my extrude feature to extrude it. Let me just see. I don't want subtract. I want no, I want subtract, and it needs to be extruded. So you'll see that because that is 70, then this needs to be 30. So it needs to be extruded from 0 to 30, and just change the direction. Sorry, yeah. Why did I click there? Okay, so extrude it for 30 millimeters and click OK. The only problem now is you'll see that there's like a step there that isn't there, and that's because of our extrude function where we've removed that entire piece there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create that block again. So this is not the best way of doing it, but it will work for now. So I'm on that face, I'm going to create another sketch, and that sketch just needs to go to there. So let me just measure that quickly. So from that line to this face is 24. So yeah, let's just make a box there. I don't want to finish it. I want to create a rectangle. From there it needs to be 15 high, and then so let's create it till there. Okay, so now you'll see what I do is I'm going to extrude this first, and then I'll show you how you can manipulate the model, the history tree. So 30 that side, and let's create a unite. Okay, so now you see, okay, now it looks even more not correct. Just see, yeah. So to get rid of that, now again I'm going to move this extrude to before that's so firstly let's move the sketch to before that sketch, so which okay, let's just move this sketch before that extrude, and then these two extrudes. So you'll see that I've moved this extrude of this arc now to the last position, and that's why, okay, now it extruded that block as well. But now we just need to modify this sketch. So instead of going directly there, I'm going to trim that line. I'm once again going to use profile from there to there. So I'm not going to put it on it at the moment. And I'm just once again going to create geometric constraints. So it's not allowing me to do that. Okay, but yeah, it's not required to be on that because we'll extrude the entire thing. So if I click finish, no, I don't want mapping. I'm just going to click no, and there you see, okay, now that entire thing is removed. So this was not the best way of doing it. This extrude that I made here should have been only to there. So apologies for that. It only needed to be to 55, I think. 87.5, sorry. Not, yeah, not that length, but because those sketches are dependent on each other now, it's more easy just to create a sketch and extrude it again than to change that. But you'll see now it's exactly the same as this. So for instance, so let's just hide all the sketches, otherwise it gets a bit clustered. So sketch, I'm also going to hide the datum planes that I've created. So that datum plane, sketch, sketch, and the last two sketches. So now we have a nice model. So, and our datum plane is there. So for instance, say we need to assign a material. Let's assign tungsten to this block. So once again, menu, tools, materials, assign materials. However, yeah, let's first make sure everything is united. So to do this, it's easy. Just click on unite, and if you hold over the part and everything is highlighted, you know it's united. But if there is some component that's not highlighted, you know it's not united, and then you just need to unite it to the part. So I'm going to go to menu, tools, materials, assign materials. Then I'm going to tungsten, click on the block and click OK. So just to make sure that it's assigned, menu, tools, materials, manage materials, and if you scroll down you'll see that the used material is tungsten, so that's fine. Now I go to analysis, measure, right click on this body, select from list, and then the solid body, and it will populate all the analysis. So you'll see the mass is 15 kilograms, and the center of mass in the X, the Y and the Z is those in millimeters. And yeah, that's the example for week 6, example 3. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you for watching.